Mary spent $160 on shirts. Dress shirts cost $28 and plain shirts cost $12. If she bought a total of 8 shirts, how many of each kind did she buy? One way we can solve this problem is to set up a system of linear equations. We will first define our variables. I am going to let D be equal to the number of dress shirts that Mary bought. I am then going to let P be equal to the number of plain shirts that Mary bought. Therefore, using the variable D and P, I can come up with 2 equations. My first equation is I know that she bought a total of 8 shirts. So I know when I add the number of dress shirts D plus the number of plain shirts P, I am going to get a total of 8. My second equation has to do with the price. I know that I spent a whole total of $160 that's combined between buying D dress shirts at $28 a piece and P plain shirts costing $12 a piece. Therefore, in order to find my total amount that I spent, I'm going to take the number of dress shirts and multiply it by 28, telling me how much money I spent in dress shirts. How much money I spent in plain shirts would be given by taking $12 times the number of plain shirts that I bought, or 12 times P. This should equal $160. In order to solve the system of linear equations, I am going to use substitution. That is, I'm going to take my first equation and rewrite it in terms of D. If I subtract P from both sides of my equation, I am going to get the number of dress shirts is equal to 8 minus the number of plain shirts. Now I'm going to use this information and I'm going to substitute it into my second equation. That second equation becomes 28 times D, where D is represented by 8 minus P, plus 12P. That is still equivalent to $160. Now I am ready to solve my equation in terms of P. We can simplify the left-hand side by using the distributive property. We have 28 times 8, which is equal to 224, and 28 times a negative p, or a negative 28p. Still, plus our 12p is equal to 160. I can combine like terms. 12p minus 28p gives us a negative 16 times p plus 224 is equal to 160. Finally, I could subtract 224 from both sides of my equation, resulting in negative 16 times p equaling negative 64. In order to solve for the number of dress shirts, I would take my equation, negative 16 times the number of plain shirts is equal to a negative 64, and divide both sides by a negative 16. Noticing that a negative divided by negative is a positive tells me that P is equal to 4. This means that I bought 4 plain shirts. To find the number of dress shirts, I know that Mary bought a total of 8 shirts. So if 4 of them were plain shirts, it means 4 of them were dress shirts. So Mary also bought 4 dress shirts. I could verify that this is indeed my answer. I could take $28 times 4, again giving me the number or the amount that I spent in dress shirts, plus 12 times 4, giving me the amount that I spent in plain shirts. When I add this amount up, I will see that it is equal to 160, verifying that Mary did indeed buy 4 dress shirts and 4 plain shirts.